These aren't fish. They're deep-sea nightmares, shape-shifting mutants, and creatures that shouldn't even exist. Let's dive in. At first glance, the Snip Eel looks like a piece of deep sea wire that grew eyes. Its body stretches out like a ribbon, sometimes up to 5 feet long, but it barely weighs more than a soda can. And then there's the jaw. Thin, curved like twin scythes, and several inches longer than its head. This jaw isn't made for crushing or chewing, it's a fishing net. Dozens of tiny hook-shaped teeth line the inside, perfectly built to snatch plankton and drifting crustaceans right out of the water like a trawling line. This creature isn't built for speed or power. It floats in the twilight zone of the ocean around 2,000 feet deep, where sunlight dies and pressure builds. Down here, brute strength won't help you. You survive by being weird. Really weird. The Snip Eel's bones are so light they feel almost hollow, helping it stay suspended without sinking. Its tail stretches out so far and thin it looks like a cable vanishing into the dark. Its eyes, small, black, and always scanning. It doesn't stalk prey, it drifts, and when something edible touches those long jaws, they snap inward in a quick scoop. The jaw bends inward as it closes, folding in that strange curve like scissors from another planet. It's not a bite, it's more like a gentle grab, but for a tiny crustacean, that's all it takes. They're rarely seen alive. Most of what we know comes from deep-sea expeditions where researchers drag them up in submersibles or deep trawls. When caught and brought to the surface, their delicate bodies can fall apart, unable to survive in low pressure. In a way, the Snip Eel is like a deep-sea ghost, fragile, alien, and built for a world humans can barely reach. Some fish look mean. The wolfish looks like it wants a fight. With its broad head, heavy jaw, and thick lips curled around rows of jagged teeth, this predator doesn't just catch prey, it crushes it. Found lurking in the cold, rocky waters of the North Atlantic, the Atlantic wolfish can grow over 4 feet long and weighs as much as a small dog. Its bite is strong enough to crack sea urchins, clams, and crabs like popcorn. Those teeth aren't just for show. The front ones are sharp and fang-like, but deeper inside its mouth, it hides molars designed for grinding. This fish was made for breaking armor. That's why it's sometimes called the sea wolf. It's not aggressive toward humans, but its wild appearance is enough to make anyone step back when one comes out of the water. Especially since, every now and then, some turn up with strange mutations, extra jaw ridges, odd bulges, or even asymmetrical faces. Wolffish prefer hiding in rocky crevices and ambushing prey rather than chasing it down. They rely on camouflage and patience. Their bodies, often blue-gray or brown, blend in perfectly with the seabed. But once their jaws clamp shut, few things escape. Divers lucky enough to spot one in the wild often describe it as a prehistoric creature, like it hasn't changed in millions of years. Wolffish have been observed showing territorial behavior, even nesting and guarding their eggs, something surprisingly rare among predatory fish. In Iceland and parts of Canada, they're even considered a delicacy, though their numbers have declined due to overfishing and habitat loss. If you swam past a leafy sea dragon, you might never know it. Looking more like a drifting piece of seaweed than a living creature, this bizarre relative of the seahorse is a true magician of the reef. Found only in the cool waters off southern and western Australia, the Leafy Sea Dragon moves with slow, delicate motions, propelled by tiny, nearly invisible fins. It's not fast, but speed isn't its strategy. It survives by vanishing in plain sight. Each leaf on its body is an elaborate piece of deception. These leaf-like appendages aren't for swimming, they're just camouflage. They flutter gently with the currents, blending the sea dragon into kelp forests and seagrass beds. And with a body that looks more like tangled plant matter than flesh, predators often swim right past it. Despite its delicate look, it's a predator too. With a long, straw-like snout, the leafy sea dragon sucks up tiny crustaceans and plankton, one after another, like a living vacuum. It has no teeth and no stomach. Food goes in and just keeps moving. That strange body plan doesn't leave room for extras. Leafy sea dragons are notoriously difficult to keep in captivity. Their sensitivity to water quality and stress makes them one of the ocean's more elusive creatures. And when they're spotted in the wild, they're often floating alone, silent, slow, and completely mesmerizing. Even in a world full of colorful reef fish, few creatures are as hypnotic or alien. If you saw one in a fantasy movie, you'd assume it was made up. But it's very real, just hidden in plain sight, letting the ocean currents do the acting. It doesn't swim. It stands. At the bottom of the ocean, where sunlight can't reach and the pressure would crush most life, the tripod fish perches like a statue on the seafloor. Its name comes from its 3 long, bony extensions, 2 pelvic fins and a tail ray that act like stilts, lifting its body above the sediment. Living up to 15,000 feet deep, this eerie creature doesn't need to hunt. It waits. Facing into the current with its fins outstretched, it senses vibrations in the water. When small shrimp or plankton float by, it quickly sweeps them into its mouth with curved pectoral fins. Eyes aren't much use down there, so many tripod fish are nearly blind, relying on touch and current to survive. Its body is pale, nearly translucent, with a gaping mouth that looks like it belongs to something much bigger. The fins can grow up to 3 feet long, which is huge considering the fish itself is only a fraction of that size. It looks like a fragile alien probe more than a fish, completely still, waiting in the abyss. Footage from deep-sea submersibles has captured it standing upright for hours, barely moving. It's one of the only fish known to use its fins in this way. No swimming, no chasing, just a ghostly presence suspended above the ocean floor, like something waiting for the story to begin. It sounds made up, a bright yellow cube-shaped fish with long horns sticking out of its head. But the Longhorn Cowfish is very real, and just as strange as it looks. Native to the warm reefs of the Indo-Pacific, this oddball moves by fluttering its tiny fins in all directions, giving it a gliding, spaceship-like motion through the water. Its horns stick out from both its head and tail, making it hard for predators to swallow. If threatened, this fish has a backup defense. It can release a powerful toxin into the water that can poison everything around it, including itself. That's why it's considered risky to keep in community tanks. Stress it out, and it becomes a danger zone. The body is armored with hard, bony plates, giving it a rigid, boxy appearance. It can't bend much, so instead of turning sharply, it gently floats, making it look like it's hovering in slow motion. Its tiny mouth and constantly surprised eyes only add to the cartoonish effect. Despite the goofy look, it's a survivor. Its unusual build and unique defense system have kept it alive for millions of years. In fact, researchers have studied its armor design to inspire futuristic body armor and robotics. So while it may look like a Pixar character, this fish is hiding more science than silliness. There are strange fish, and then there's the Barreleye. Found at depths of up to 2,600 feet, this deep-sea creature has a head that's completely transparent. Inside that dome of clear tissue float 2 tubular, bright green eyes that can rotate inside the skull. When you first see it, it doesn't look real. It looks like a prop from a sci-fi movie. Those strange eyes don't just stare forward, they pivot straight up, allowing the fish to spot prey silhouetted against the faint glow of sunlight far above. When it spots something edible, it rolls its eyes forward to track and capture it. It's one of the few animals on Earth with this kind of visual ability. The rest of the body is sleek, dark, and nearly motionless. The Barreleye hovers in place with barely a flick of its fins, using minimal energy in an energy-starved environment. It steals food from siphonophores, long, stinging, gelatinous creatures, by reaching carefully into their tentacles without triggering them. Not just weird, smart. For years, scientists only saw damaged specimens brought up from the deep. It wasn't until recent submersible dives that anyone captured footage of a healthy Barreleye in the wild. And when they did, it shocked everyone. Seeing those glowing green orbs roll inside a living glass skull is a moment few forget. It's not fantasy. It's not CGI. It's just one more reason why Earth's oceans remain more alien than outer space. There's a moment, just seconds long, when this fish isn't a fish at all. It becomes a missile with wings, slicing through air above the sea like a silver dart. The flying fish is one of nature's most unexpected hybrids. With a torpedo-shaped body and oversized wing-like pectoral fins, it can launch itself from the water at speeds over 35 miles per hour. Once airborne, it glides over the surface for more than 600 feet. Some have even been recorded leaping from wave to wave like airborne stones. It's not for show. This fish is running for its life. Tuna, dolphins, mackerel, they're fast and hungry. The flying fish escapes in a way most predators don't expect, by flying. Its tail beats rapidly just before takeoff, slapping the water like a motor. Once airborne, it locks its fins in place and rides the air, gaining enough lift to avoid the jaws below. Found in warm ocean waters around the world, flying fish travel in schools, often seen skipping just above the surface at sunrise or sunset. In places like the Caribbean and the Pacific, they're so common that sailors once thought they were birds. They even crash into boats sometimes, mistaking decks for safe landing zones. Their bones are lightweight, their muscles are tuned for burst power, and their fins are perfectly shaped for gliding, not flapping. They don't truly fly like birds or bats, but in the world of fish, this is as close as it gets. Nature's not supposed to cross those boundaries, but sometimes it does anyway. It has fins that look like mittens and a walk that's more of a waddle. The handfish doesn't swim through the water like most fish. It strolls along the seabed using its modified fins like stubby little limbs. Found around Tasmania and southern Australia, this critically endangered fish looks more like a grumpy cartoon than a real animal. It stays close to the bottom, blending into the sandy floor or perching on rocks. Swimming is awkward for this species, so it rarely does. Instead, it relies on camouflage and a creeping pace to avoid predators. Some species, like the spotted handfish, have strange body markings that mimic the seabed, helping them vanish into the background. They're so rare that spotting one in the wild is like seeing a ghost. In fact, several species were thought to be extinct until scientists recently rediscovered them in hidden pockets of reef. Their strange biology makes them fragile. Pollution, invasive species, and climate changes hit them hard. But there's something oddly human in how they move. Watching them walk on their fins feels more like watching a small land creature trying to figure out how the ocean works. It's awkward, a bit slow, but entirely unforgettable. In a world of swimmers, the handfish just decided to take another path, literally. In the deep sea, pressure is everything. The blobfish survives where the ocean crushes most life. At depths over 3,000 feet, its body works like a jelly-filled sack. No bones, no muscles worth bragging about, just soft flesh that stays buoyant under extreme pressure. Down there, it looks like any other slow-moving bottom dweller. Up here, it turns into a sad, sagging face that looks like it just got terrible news. Its infamy came after a photo surfaced of a blobfish out of water, deflated like a forgotten party balloon. That picture earned it the unofficial title of World's Ugliest Fish. But that look is misleading. Blobfish aren't supposed to be seen above water. Their body collapses under low pressure, which turns their normally firm structure into a gelatinous blob. They don't chase prey or ambush it. Instead, they hover just above the seabed and wait for edible things like worms and small crustaceans to drift by. They conserve energy by doing almost nothing. No fast swimming. No lunging, just floating and eating what comes. Because of their unusual body structure, blobfish can't be kept in aquariums, and sightings in the wild are rare since they live in remote, deep zones that are difficult to access. Despite their reputation, they're not monstrous. They're simply built for a world we barely understand. Ugly? Maybe, but only from our point of view. If sharks had a haunted cousin, it would be the goblin shark. With a flattened snout that sticks out like a blade and a jaw that launches forward like a trap, this deep-sea predator looks like it escaped from a horror game. Found in the darkest depths of the ocean, from Japan to the Gulf of Mexico, this shark rarely sees the light of day. Its most terrifying feature is its mouth. When prey gets close, the goblin shark's jaw shoots out several inches, almost doubling the length of its face. Long, needle-like teeth snap forward, catching squid, fish, or crustaceans with eerie precision. It's not fast, but it doesn't need to be. It strikes with one of the most extreme feeding mechanisms in the animal kingdom. The rest of the body is soft and pale pink, almost translucent. It's a slow mover drifting silently near the seabed. Its coloration comes from visible blood vessels under thin skin, adding to its ghostly appearance. It's not dangerous to humans, but one look at its face is enough to make anyone rethink a night swim. The goblin shark has been around for over 100 million years, longer than most dinosaur species. It's a living fossil, unchanged by time, perfectly adapted to the deep. It rarely appears in human contact zones, and when it does, it often dies quickly, unable to survive outside its crushing pressure home. It may look like a monster, but this shark is simply one of nature's oldest survivors. And it's proof that the deeper you go, the stranger things get. In the black void of the ocean's midnight zone, one fish rules with glowing fangs and a nightmare face. The Pacific black dragon isn't just unusual, it's otherworldly. With a long snake-like body, dagger teeth, and a chin barbell that glows, this predator is built for darkness. But here's the twist. The terrifying monster is only the female. Females grow up to 2 feet long, armed with photophores. tiny organs that light up like cold fire along their body. These lights lure in prey or help them blend in with the faint glow from above. The mouth is filled with curved teeth that don't fit when closed, forcing the jaws to stay slightly open like a constant threat. The males, tiny, weak, and toothless. They live short lives, don't eat, and exist mainly to reproduce. It's a deep-sea power flip. The females are the hunters, the rulers, the terrifying queens of the abyss. Even more strange, their bodies are coated in a special pigment that absorbs nearly all light, making them virtually invisible in the water. Rarely seen alive, black dragons are pulled up in deep-sea trawls and studied under special lights. But in their world, they move like shadows with glowing edges, a perfect mix of beauty and terror. It's the kind of creature you'd expect in a dark sci-fi thriller soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails, not real life. And yet, it swims quietly through a world we still know almost nothing about. At first glance, parrotfish look like colorful tropical decorations, vibrant blues, greens, and pinks shimmering in the reef. But don't let the pretty face fool you. Behind that beak-like mouth is one of the reef's most destructive and necessary forces. Parrotfish don't just nibble coral, they grind it down with jaws that resemble a parrot's beak, crushing rock-hard skeletons of dead coral to get at the algae inside. And the result of all that grinding? Sand, lots of it. A single large parrotfish can produce hundreds of pounds of fine white sand in a year. That powdery beach you're lying on in the tropics? Thank a parrotfish. At night, certain species even create a mucus cocoon around themselves, like a transparent sleeping bag, to mask their scent from predators. If the ocean had a booby trap, it would look like this. The Stargazer fish spends its life buried under sand, leaving only its eyes and mouth exposed. Those eyes don't scan side to side. They look straight up, watching for unsuspecting prey to swim above. And when the moment's right, the Stargazer launches upward like a landmine with teeth. It's not just ambush tactics that make it terrifying. Stargazers also come equipped with electrical organs. That's right, it can shock its prey. The jolt isn't powerful enough to fry a human, but for small fish and crustaceans, it's like touching a live wire. It stuns them just long enough for the Stargazer to gulp them down whole. Their bodies are thick, muscular, and designed for sudden bursts of movement. Their mouths stretch wide like a vacuum, snapping shut with brutal force. And their coloring? Perfect camouflage. Some even have lures inside their mouths, mimicking worms to trick prey closer. They're found in both shallow coastal waters and deeper parts of the ocean, from the Atlantic to the Indo-Pacific. In certain places, fishermen even warn swimmers to shuffle their feet, just in case one's hiding underfoot. This fish doesn't chase. It doesn't roam, it just waits. Silent, still, and deadly. A creature built on patience and surprise. If someone told you a manhole cover could swim, they might be talking about the Mola. This fish is a living disc, often more than 10 feet from fin tip to fin tip, and can weigh over 5,000 pounds. Yet despite its size, it drifts through the ocean with the awkward elegance of a satellite out of orbit. The Mola has no real tail. Its body ends in a stiff, rounded flap that looks unfinished. But don't underestimate it. It can dive hundreds of feet to chase jellyfish, its primary food. Its mouth is fused into a tiny beak, and it doesn't even chew. It just gulps and floats. Sunfish are often seen basking near the surface, lying sideways to soak up warmth, hence the name sunfish. Seabirds sometimes perch on them to snack on parasites, and other fish will follow along for the ride. They don't move much, but when they do, they can launch out of the water in a clumsy, slow-motion breach that makes waves tremble. Despite their size, Mola are surprisingly fragile. Their rough skin is vulnerable to parasites, and their slow movements make them frequent victims of boats. But in the deep blue, they are kings of weird. Half a fish, half a UFO, all real. If underwater arguments were a sport, this little fish would be the undisputed champion. The sarcastic Fringehead looks unassuming until it gets mad. Then it opens its jaw into a neon-colored, fan-shaped display that's bigger than its own head. It's not a warning, it's a challenge. Two Fringeheads will square off jaw to jaw, pressing their wide mouths against each other in what looks like a screaming match. They're not biting, they're wrestling with faces, trying to prove dominance. Whoever has the bigger, more intimidating mouth usually wins. It's like underwater arm wrestling with teeth. They live in small crevices, burrows, or even discarded bottles off the California coast. And they guard their territory like rabid dogs. Come too close and you'll get a mouthful of rage. Their colors range from mottled browns to flashes of electric green and blue when they flare up. They don't grow more than a foot long, but what they lack in size, they make up for in sheer attitude. Researchers studying their behavior have called them aggressively territorial, which is scientists speak for don't mess with them. It's rare to find a fish that argues with posture instead of power, but in the Fringehead world, bravado is everything. This fish is the stuff of urban legend. The Kanderu is a tiny, nearly transparent catfish found in the Amazon River, infamous for its ability to invade body orifices, especially one particular, extremely vulnerable spot on the human body. Is it common? No. Is it real? Absolutely. Normally, Kanderu feed on blood by swimming into the gills of other fish and latching on with backward-facing spines. Once inside, they drink like underwater leeches, then drop off. It's a parasite that specializes in stealth. The myth about them targeting humans is mostly exaggerated. Documented cases are rare, with most experts considering it unlikely. Still, locals treat the threat seriously enough to warn swimmers in certain parts of the Amazon. Whether it's fear, fact, or folklore, it's effective. What makes the Kanderu unsettling is how perfectly it's adapted to its job. Its body is almost invisible in water. It's small enough to sneak into tight spaces, and once inside its host, it's almost impossible to remove without serious effort. It may not be a monster in size, but in the category of fish that make your skin crawl, the Kanderu sits comfortably at the top. A nightmare, not because it's big or fast, but because of what it could do. That's about it. Which fish surprised you the most? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.